Preparing to go live. All righty. Preparing to go live. Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to the United Professional Barbers and Cosmetologists Association Shop Talk with U.P.B.C.A. And tonight we have a wonderful topic that we're going to be discussing with our viewers and our listeners. This is a great topic. I can't speak enough about how amazing and glad and excited I am about talking about crisis communications. Given by, and I'm getting ready to introduce her soon, but I have a few of my board members on board with us, Vice President Wade Davis, Johnny Scott, Verdina Lightfoot. We got a couple of guests with us, Jonathan Thompson, all the way from Florida, and Paris Bryant, and we're so glad to have them with us today. And I want to say this, we have a humongous spike of crime and violence in our community lately. Due to coronavirus and all these other type of issues and compounding things that are creating this civil unrest and this violence that we're having. Majority of the homicides and shootings that we have in this community are a result of conflicts and disputes that people have. And so tonight we have a professional with us, Erin Young, who works for Workers United. She can introduce herself later and give you more of her things that she does and her background. But you know, we need this a lot today of how to deal with crisis. And we have an expert with us tonight, and we are just so glad to have her. She's also one of our board members. She's the liaison between us and Workers United Rochester Joint Board and U.P.B.C.A. And we're so glad to have her. And I want to present to some, introduce to others, Erin Young.
Thank you, Willie. And thank you for everyone who's joining us tonight. So yes, my name's Erin Young. I am a union business representative for Workers United, the Rochester Regional Joint Board. So I represent 9 union locals, which is approximately 1,000 to 1,500 union members. And I'm also communicating with middle management, upper management, CEOs, and business owners as well. So I deal with a lot of different personalities. I've pretty much seen it all. So sometimes I get called in to de-escalate situations between either stewards, managers, sometimes employees and other employees, and also sometimes with customers and employees where there's discipline involved. So we advocate towards resolution in these types of situations. So I wanted to move on to some of the objectives that I want to go through this evening. Number one, I want to define conflict resolution and de-escalation. I want to explain some of the characteristics of someone that is actually in a crisis situation. And I want to also describe the appropriate response to someone who is in a crisis situation and list the benefits to applying these resolution skills and de-escalation in your workplace. I think it has tremendous benefits with everything that's going on right now that Willie described. So to move on to defining someone that's in a behavioral crisis versus a full mental health crisis, it is someone that's having an episode of a mental or emotional distress that is creating instability or danger that's considered disruptive by the community, friends, family, or themselves. So in saying that, like Willie said, during this COVID crisis, there have been a lot of changes and regulations that have presented a lot of inconveniences for people. You pair that with a really volatile political atmosphere, and it's elicited a lot of different behaviors from people that they wouldn't normally exhibit. People are on edge right now. So those that are working in salons, barbershops, depending on what their hours are, there may be or maybe not fewer people around. You may have later hours. I wanted to go through this to those who may be susceptible to an escalated conversation and try to put something out there that may be of assistance to de-escalate and move things in a more positive direction. And I'll get to the reasons why that's so important right now. So I'm going to share my screen right now, Willie, if I can.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I went through my objectives already. So in preparing to resolve conflict, recognizing, diffusing, and managing aggressive behavior through the use of crisis intervention techniques, communications, in conjunction with an understanding of people's attitudes, emotions, and behavior is what we're kind of about right now. So I want to list some of the what we recognize as signs of a potential for an escalated situation. Number one, we always look for someone clenching their jaw. So you look for the muscles in their temples, you look for them grinding their teeth, you look for them ready to go and be in a confrontational, a confrontational situation, excuse me. A sudden change in body language or their tone, them shifting, them putting one foot forward, them posturing their chest, them changing the tone of their voice. That's something that we obviously look for in order to change our behavior and attempt to begin to de-escalate the situation. Pacing, fidgeting, shifting, again, that's another sign that we may have to engage in de-escalation. Change in eye contact. When I say this, a lot of people interpret it as shifting or not looking at you directly. Normally what I look for is someone locks your gaze and they don't change it. That is something that is to be interpreted as far as nonverbal language as someone that's looking to confront you. They cross their arms. That means that they're really not looking into listening to anything that you say, and they're becoming defensive. Acting defensively when refusing to comply. That goes along with the different COVID regulations and people refusing to wear their masks, people that don't want to follow the rules and they want to engage in a debate about it. So that's obviously something that we have come across a lot. So I want to also go through ways to start resolving some of these conflicts and how we can prepare ourselves. And I want to give you some tips on what to do when you start to see these behaviors. So number one is to try to keep yourself calm, because being upset will encourage further escalation, obviously. Take a deep breath. It's important to watch the tone of your voice. So using a low, dull voice, not getting defensive, even if you feel personally attacked. That is the number one key, and I will get to a little bit more of that a little bit later. Be aware of your situation and your surroundings. Keep a mental note of where chairs, tables, scissors are, and make sure that you look at where they're looking, because that's something that you're going to need to do in order to keep yourself safe and keep them safe, keep anyone else that's working in the facility and your customers safe as well. Also, this is something that I tell people a lot, keeping in mind the space around you, who's around, but where the exits are. And most importantly, if you are positioning yourself between this individual and an exit, that is considered as a threat to them, like they're trapped there. So make sure that you're aware of where you position your body when you're communicating as well. It's very important. Look as non-threatening as possible. And by saying that, keep a neutral face. Don't smile, don't frown, don't furrow your brow. Remain neutral. Be expressionless. Being a threat or being coming across as making light of their situation is not a way to get out of an escalated circumstance. Try to make a personal connection with them. Encourage them to sit. If they need to stand, you need to stand also. You have to keep on the same level with one another, which is extremely important. Place your hands in front of your body in an open and relaxed position. If you put them behind you, if you clench a fist, that's going to be noticed. Don't shrug your shoulders or shake your head. Again, that may be interpreted that you're making light of the situation. Don't point your finger at them. It's threatening, and it will, again, further escalate the situation. Avoid excessive gesturing, pacing, weight shifting. I, for one, am guilty of talking with my hands a lot. And in doing so, it looks that you're more animated than you should be, when we really, really recommend you keeping a neutral tone. So in this personal connection, ask them what their name is, because usually when you're engaging in a conversation with somebody, when you say their name, it's relaxing to them. When I say, and Willie, I'm going to throw your name out there. When I say, Willie, is what you're saying this? It's takes on a different tone than saying, what are you telling me? So use their name as much as you possibly can. Very important. And they're going to respond more positively. That's been shown time and time again. The most important thing that I can ever say, and it's going to be 2 words actually, is listen and empathy. So listening to people and what their concerns are right now is acknowledging how they feel without passing judgment on them. So your empathy needs to be shown even if you don't agree with them or their position, which you probably are not going to be. So by expressing an understanding of why this person feels the way that they do, helps to resolve the conflict and move towards further steps. Clarifying or paraphrasing and asking open-ended questions ensures that they are aware that you understand their frustration completely. Ask if you can take notes. That's something that I do frequently in front of someone that I feel that I can't resolve with just a simple conversation. Ask for their ideas and solutions and let them take their anger out by talking rather than acting out on it. Shift the conversation. So if you have the ability to do this, direct it towards an idea or something positive, and it makes the situation and yourself seem less threatening. So using what and we is very, very important at this point because it includes them in what you're saying. So I usually like to use the phrase, here's what we can do, or what can we do about this? Get them to say yes. And it doesn't matter what you say to get them to say yes. You could say, you know what, this has been the most messed up year, and just look at them and wait for them to say something like, yeah, yes, it is. Okay. You're agreeing to something, which is a very, very critical step. It's hard for someone to stay angry at you when they're agreeing with you. Ultimately, if at this point in time, this has gone way beyond your control, just stop for a minute. Take a pause. If you feel unsafe, obviously there are other things that you need to do, but no matter what it is that you feel that you need to do, remain calm. So when it comes to crisis communications, there's 3 very important aspects that I wanted to cover tonight. Words represent 7% of what someone hears you saying. Nonverbal communication, which is your body language, the expression on your face, is 38% of what they hear you saying. Your tone is 55% of what they hear you're saying. So that leads me to your voice. It is your number 1 tool in a de-escalation situation. The way that you say something can be 5 times more important than what you're actually saying to somebody. So your tone of voice, your demeanor, your perceived sincerity are more important than any single phrase, sentence, words that you can ever use. So your calmness is going to be just as contagious as a fear or a panic situation or an anger situation that someone is experiencing. So I want to go through how to react to someone instead of being in a behavioral crisis situation who may be engaging in an actual mental health crisis. So the most important thing is you have to conduct yourself with integrity. Keep your place. A mental health crisis, when someone has completely gone above and beyond just a behavioral or an adversarial situation, there are several things that you need to keep in mind in how to conduct yourself. You got to remain professional. In other words, we categorize professionalism as that good judgment, polite behavior that you would engage in with any one of your customers in order to prevent bad publicity or anything else. Again, try to remain respectful even if you feel disrespected, which is very, very difficult to do because we're all going through these situations and we all may feel this way at some time. The key is to focus on de-escalating, not putting someone in their place or trying to correct their behavior. Maintain your self-control. When confronted with a difficult person, the first step is going to be to watch your own behavior because you are not going to be able to control theirs. You have zero ability to do that. So using our self-control to try to get them to realize what they can do to control themselves is what ultimately this is all about. When I talk about maturity and respect in the workplace, one of the things that I always say to people is if you appreciate another person's sense of dignity and self-worth, their curiosity and healthy suspicion, you should never be upset by people who try to challenge your authority. People under a mental health crisis may compromise their sense of logic and their knowledge of their own behavior. So they're acting and responding from an intense emotional level rather than a rational one. And they're responding in a highly stressful situation. So I'd like to get into the de-escalation process, but first I want to pause and see if anyone has any questions. We're good? Okay.
Yes.
So the de-escalation process goes in several steps, which if done a certain way, ultimately, if we can get to follow up, that is the goal in this situation. So active listening, there's that word again, empathy. Attempting to build a rapport, providing information and support, and then ultimately getting up to that follow-up situation is what we're looking to do. So listening, I've always described as an art. It really comes in a couple of categories. So when I train about listening, I talk about non-judgmental active listening. So the objectives of doing that is to lower someone's emotions and try to get to return the subject to normal, quote unquote. You want to establish a rapport and have some influence on their behavior in some way. You want to gather as much information as what got them to this point as you possibly can. And eventually you want to encourage that behavioral change, which brings to successful de-escalation. So active listening skills begin with open-ended questions. And an open-ended question is anything that you can ask them that they don't have to respond just yes or no to. So it's eliciting a response out of them. So saying, so what led you to feel this way or say what you're saying right now? It's an open-ended question. You want to use explicit phrases beginning with, for example, so what I think you're saying is this, or I hear you when you said this. It shows that you understand them. And again, it goes back to getting them to say yes and getting them to agree with you. It's important to use minimal encouragers because you don't want to give a committal response to people. So for an example of a minimal encourager, it's saying mm-hmm and okay. So you're not agreeing with them, you're remaining neutral, but show that you're hearing what they're saying. You want to use effective pauses. So silence is golden here. If they are, again, talking out their anger rather than acting on it, sometimes using your minimal encouragers and using effective pauses, that silence equates to calmness, and you're remaining calm, and they may start to look at their own behavior when you become silent and engage in your proper nonverbal communication. Using reflecting and mirroring is not just repeating back what they're telling you, showing that you've memorized it. So what that says to them is that you weren't really listening, and you reflecting or mirroring shows that you are listening. And by doing that, you're paraphrasing their content. So you're restating their thoughts, but using your own words. That also goes for paraphrasing of their emotions. So instead of just rephrasing in your own words what you heard them saying, following that up with, I could see why that would make you feel this way, and seeing if they agree with you. So some of the barriers that could get in the way of active listening is giving unsolicited advice, coming across as judgmental, trying to solve their problem for them, or persuading them to do something. Pushing the conversation beyond their comfort level is obviously a bad idea with somebody that's in a mental health crisis and it's escalating. Comparing their situation to other situations can also be a major barrier. Interrupting them or attempting to engage in an argument. So there's other things that are very important to bring up that have really taken many situations that I and others, and probably you, have been involved in, that statistically does not work well. Telling them to snap out of it. I think that's the PC way of saying it. Telling them to get over it. Tell them to shut up. Tell them that you're crazy. You've got to stop. Being sarcastic, saying, wow, congratulations. You're the first person to be upset about the situation that we're all involved in. Making light of their experience. Avoiding blame. Not engaging or trying to be empathetic to their situation is avoiding blame, even if you feel like you've done absolutely nothing to contribute to the situation that you're now involved in. I did mention solving their problems earlier. Dismissing their feelings, treating them as unintelligent. Obviously, we all go through what we go through on a daily basis. I think that we're all guilty of looking at these situations and saying, you know what, this person's nuts. I've gone through everything that I've gone through today. Why do I have to deal with this? This person's an idiot. They will read that energy from you. On another end of the scale, expecting a rapport to develop too quickly. So you're thinking, I've calmed down, I've talked to this person, I've talked them off the ledge, and why are they still saying these things? Don't expect that too quickly. They may sense that you're trivializing their problems. And I'm going to go back to the whole political conversation again. Please don't, or stay away from arguing moral issues. That's something that I have seen too often in the work environment, and it has been very difficult to get through when you start getting into moral issues. People feel very strongly about that, obviously. So when it comes to empathy, again, there's that word again, identifying or understanding someone else's situation, feelings, and motive. You're positioning yourself in someone else's spot and trying to see the world through their eyes. I mean, even if it's a situation that you don't relate to. You don't have to feel what they feel to agree with them in order to provide empathy. Once I believe that you achieve that place, you have the ability to go to that next level and build a rapport. So, building a rapport is that harmonious relationship. And I'm not saying that this is going to be harmonious, but what I mean that is you get to a place where you start to get in sync with each other, even when you disagree with each other. So it goes back to getting them to say yes. It goes back to saying, here's what we can do, using their name. You're de-escalating in a way where they feel that, and you're still remaining neutral, but they're like, okay, this person is not going to confront me and fight with me. So that's obviously a huge step in de-escalation and moving things forward into a more comfortable and normal place. So some of the phrases that will damage this in a heartbeat is telling someone to calm down. So in the history of the two words calm down, I don't know of anyone that's actually calmed down from someone saying that to them. It's perceived as an order, and people generally react in a negative way to that. Another one, and we're all guilty of this, and it's really common to say, is using the words, I understand. So this is generally used to interrupt somebody, and it's the quickest way that people think they're de-escalating something. And really, it's kind of a jump that we make into starting to problem solve. So if we feel that someone is going on and they're ranting and it's becoming unstable, it's very common for us to say, I understand, and then try to solve the problem. And I'm hoping that some of the things that I talked about earlier this evening and the phrases that to use will assist in helping in a situation at that caliber. Understanding is something that has to be demonstrated. It's not something that you can just say to somebody. Another one is asking the question, why? It feels accusatory. It creates defensiveness. It makes somebody get into a dialogue that can sometimes run a lot deeper than what they're capable of doing at that point in time. More common phrases that may damage rapport is you should or you shouldn't. It's, again, a judgmental statement that may cause feelings of inadequacy, shame, anger, and may further escalate the situation. If we can establish a rapport and some type of understanding once you get to that level. Another thing that I commonly do in the workplace that may also help you, depending on who it is that you're dealing with in this type of situation, is providing information and support. And there's a difference between giving information versus giving advice, which is another common thing that we often do. So information is something that's helpful. Advice comes across as, well, this is what I think you should do now. So instead of doing that, try to help them identify what caused their crisis in the first place. If you've developed that rapport and they're answering your open-ended questions, that should be a lot easier to do. So if you can offer some type of internal or external resource that can assist them in giving them some type of resolve, that is, and I'm saying if this is applicable, like for example, in the shops that I represent, I will sometimes elicit assistance from the employee assistance program. I will sometimes offer assistance in, this is with employees, but also other outside agencies, depending on what has triggered them. During COVID, that may be a little different, and there's a lot of different resources that we've all kind of looked into and that we keep a note of, that we keep handy, that I would definitely recommend you doing if you can. So providing that information and those options to address the cause is a huge part of leading into our follow-up. It gives someone hope and diffuses their anger. But we all have to have realistic expectations. These crises are not to be taken lightly, and there's a lot going on behind them. People have had to worry about what their incomes are going to be, what's going to happen, how long this is going to be going on, what services they're going to have access to. Why is unemployment not getting back to me? I have a hiccup in, my income because a check wasn't put into my account. This has been a lot to carry on our shoulders this year, and we've been going through it for 9-10 months now. So we have to have some realistic expectations as to how we're going to get someone to go from this level to a sense of normalcy, and we're all just trying to get through this together and find some common ground. If you have the ability to continue to provide that support until this crisis passes, that depends on if it's a situation with a customer or if it's a situation with an employee or a friend or someone else that you're working with. So ultimately, I chose this topic tonight, and I know that we all have busy lives, so I didn't want to go on about this, but I was hoping that it would elicit some questions and conversation. But I did briefly want to go through the benefits of having this conversation and talking about some of the phrases and the behaviors that we can engage in order to somehow have an influence on the behaviors that are around us in our everyday lives. The benefits is it creates a safer work environment for you, for your customers. It promotes resilience in a time where everyone's wondering what's going on, and you are exhibiting stability when in the midst of complete instability. It's going to reflect positively on your business because you have this ability to handle these situations that many people do not. And ultimately, we're addressing the liability aspect of this. Having someone that is escalating their behavior and not responding in a way that promotes resolution and peace may create a situation of liability. We discussed watching your immediate surroundings, how to secure the situation in a safe manner before you engage in your communications. These, unfortunately, are things that we have been discussing and communicating about more frequently as time goes on. The violence in our community is sad. It's something that we're all trying to manage through. At the very least, if we're in a community space, those situations may be unlikely, but it may prevent someone from leaving your space and engaging in something that is much more violent when they leave there. So I'm hoping that this helped in some way, shape, or form, and that the information can be passed on to others, that the difference that you make in someone's day may influence the outcome of somebody else's day later that day. So I want to open this up for any questions or any conversation that anybody wants to have at this point.
Aaron, that was deep.
Yeah, Aaron, you may, are you done with the PowerPoint? Can you stop sharing, please?
I am. I'm going to stop sharing. I want to see your faces. Okay.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Great job, Aaron. That's a lot of information, very helpful. And a lot of tools that you gave us tonight. Opening up for conversation. Anybody want to start, talking about some of the things you've heard, or ask Aaron any questions or comments? Now time to do that.
Well, let me say that
You have robot voice, Wade. You have robot voice.
a robot voice,
Robot voice.
Okay.
Robot voice. Very staticky for some reason.
How's that?
Go ahead, brother.
That better?
A little bit. Go ahead.
Okay. Aaron, man, as you were getting out this information, because a lot of this stuff we've heard before, but it was great to be reminded. I mean, I was just running through in my storage in my mind of all the incidents I've had in my own shop. Yep. Where I did a lot of the do's, but much more of the don'ts, and how they turned out. This crisis thing goes from your business to your life in general. Goes along with the times we live in. But really I wrote down a few things. You said this threatening demeanor and the facial expression. Now I really have a problem with that, right? Because my face is always serious looking. And people have told me that, I don't really smile a lot. And, and people can take that. I think you were on point with that, because people take your facial expressions as like, that's how you really feel. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with me. You know what I'm saying? So, I got to do much better with that. And as I was listening, I said, I kept thinking about patience. You got to have patience in any situation of a crisis, right? Because somebody got to have the level of head or the more calmness about them. And, a lot of times in the heat of emotion, we don't have that, So, yeah, you reminded me of a whole lot of things that I need to work on. A whole lot of things that I gotta work on moving forward here. Yeah.
Good, Wade. Thank you. The one that I'm the most guilty of is the I understand one. To stop somebody. I understand, and here's my point of view. I have to remind myself of that one a lot. But when somebody says that to you, it immediately puts you in your tracks, but then it makes you feel a different way. So, I know that there was a lot of things that I said that people already know, but sometimes we all got to remind ourselves of things.
Definitely. Yeah.
Anybody else have any other comments, concerns, experiences, or things that you may be going through or have seen recently around crisis, conflict, de-escalation, things of that nature?
Mr. Lightfoot, I just want to share this quick one. This is look how crazy this was. So I'm in the shop full. I got grandmama with the two boys, and the shop is full. It's Tuesday. I'm on Thurston. It's Tuesday. It's Kids Day. This years ago, $7 today, $7. But this is Friday though. And it's busy, but my kids' day is on Tuesdays. So a young man that we all know from the west side, he comes, he brings the boys instead of their mother, and he brings them on Friday. When he sent them in with the money, I take the whole 20, because at the time I was doing kids' cuts for 10, special on Tuesday, and I put it in my pocket and I got the workman. This guy comes in like a gorilla, and a shop full of people. Tell me, where my change at? Where my change at? So I'm trying to explain to him, your change is $10. Yo, when so-and-so be bringing them, it's $7. I said, she comes on the days that it is $7. You got me here on a Friday. He couldn't understand that thing. So as I see that he wasn't really getting it, and we probably would have been tussling in there about $20, I said, you know what, man? Here you go. Don't worry about it. Tell Suge to bring him next time. And but it took me a minute to get there. And a lot of the things that you said don't do, I did do. And it kind of escalated and it kept it going. But as I took a look around, I'm the one gonna be losing. You know what I'm saying? Here I am talking to him about $20, and I got $150 sitting here waiting for me to hurry up and get it. You see what I'm saying? So you're exactly right. We have to take that woosah moment, that count to 10, all that kind of stuff. That's just one of the main incidents that I've had.
Yeah, I've had quite a few myself. Where I you have a lot of people oftentimes that want something for nothing. And,
Yeah.
Run different games in order to take advantage of people. And I think that's important to understand, especially now with the pandemic, and a lot of people have lost their jobs, are unemployed, and their children still want their haircut, even if they're not in school. You may find that you may have customers who are normally can pay, and now they're in a situation where they can't. Instead of just being honest about that, they may try, things that may not be right. And when those type of things happen, we have to take a step back and really take time. And that's hard to do when you're in the heat of the moment. That's very hard to do. And there's so many people that are in Mount Hope Cemetery, Riverside, who wish they could have took that 10 seconds or that minute to really think about what they were doing before they did, what they did or said what they said and responded the way they responded. Because as you said, Aaron, people are very sensitive right now. And, you got a lot of people who may be medicated, whether it's legal or illegal. And, their fuse is very short. And we have to be, we those of us who are providing services in the community, we have to be more attuned to the fact that, and pay attention to the signs that people give you, because they'll give you signs. There's, like you said, there's signs.
There are signs.
Body language, their attitudes, and it's better to walk away. It's better to give them back their money. It's better to walk away. It's better to de-escalate. It's better than it is to for a decision to be made and someone could really get hurt, harmed, lose their job. Some negative thing could happen as a result of you taking your time. And I would tell you, after 20 years on the Rochester Fire Department, being in crisis and emergencies for a long time, it's many times I had to bite my tongue. It's many times I had to take a step back because I was there to provide a service. As we are as barbers, beauticians, nail technicians, appearance enhancement professionals, we're there to provide a service. And customer service is always number one. If you keep that in mind, for every one you lose, you can gain 5.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard for especially younger people in the business, in the industry. You can take a lesson from this if you're starting out new in the business. Remember, first of all, there's enough hair for everybody. And for every one that you may lose, you can gain 5 more by maintaining your composure,
right.
Continue to be professional, provide the utmost quality service that you can provide. And I guarantee you, when that person leaves, the shop will be talking about that person. Oh man, that was wrong. Shouldn't have did that, blah, blah, blah. And they're watching you as the leader to see how
Right.
you're going to handle that situation. And I've been in many situations, Aaron, and guys and gals that are listening. Some I've handled well, some I haven't. Sometimes that Jefferson Avenue tend to come out, you know what I'm saying? But I've learned as I'm getting older now, I'm learning that I have to do the things that you said in your presentation, Aaron. I have to pay attention to my behavior. I have to be careful not to point at people, not to raise my hands, not to raise my voice, not to have the proper body language, you know, and sometimes just being quiet is the best thing to do.
It's leadership.
Yeah. Anybody else got any things you want to share? We're wrapping up here. Anybody got any situations you want to share, incidences that you may have had, anything you may want to add to the conversation as to what you think, and as we're dealing in these times of crisis communication, how we can all become better communicators, especially in crisis.
I've seen many things over the years, man. And I had to screenshot every single PowerPoint that she posted because I've handled things. I'd like to think that I've handled things like I'm always the go-to person in the shop. Oh, Johnny's gonna be calm, to call him. But I need my guys, man, to know this stuff, to see this stuff, and not always call Johnny because I'm very rarely there. You know what I mean? This stuff was like so deep, man. It was so effective. In the way that, and although I've seen a lot of things over the years, I wish I'd had this a long time ago. Because I'd be like so ahead of the game. This info was amazing, man. Amazing.
Johnny, you don't have to screenshot anything. I'll just send it to you.
Well, I got it now.
And we'll make sure.
Every shop talk, yeah, I screenshot everything.
Johnny, we'll also make sure it's on YouTube. So you can go on our YouTube page. You can share that link. It'll be on our Facebook page. We'll have Dr. DJ put it on our website along with the PowerPoint on the website. So we'll make sure that this information is readily available. The link can be sent to anybody to share. So definitely send the link to your barbers, you know, and any individuals that you may know that need this information. We're going to continue these conversations. I had a quick poll. I think I created a poll. Let me see if you guys can see it. Quick poll. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Aaron, you won't be able to see it if you're because you're a co-host.
No, I see it.
Can you? Okay. I just need you guys just to just fill that out real quickly, and we'll share that after it's done. 5 out of 6. Okay, I think that's everybody in poll, and then we'll share the results. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So everyone said that this information was helpful to them. Everyone would like to see more presentations on this topic. Okay. So let's keep that in mind for future U.P.B.C.A. shop talks. We want to thank Erin. Let's give her a virtual hand clap for Erin.
Oh, thank you, everybody.
Done a wonderful job. We thank everyone, all of our board members who are attending today. Andre from Andre's Barbershop on Portland, Wade from Wade and Me on Culver, Johnny Scott from Top Notch on South Clinton, my wife from New Creations on Jefferson Avenue, Paris Bryan, our guest, and my brother Jonathan, all the way from Florida. Guys, for visiting us and being with us tonight. We'll be back again next month, Lord willing, for U.P.B.C.A. Shop Talk, third Monday, I'm sorry, of every month. We're going to continue. We've been going ever since the beginning of the year, and we're going to continue these conversations. And as we say, love, peace, and hair grease. You ain't got to go home, but you got to get out of here. We love you guys. Circle.
Thank you, everyone.
Wear your mask. as Andre is doing, protect your circle, gloves, masks, hand sanitizers, get tested, get COVID tested, y'all. The numbers are going up. Let's be safe. Let's be safe. Protect your circle. Happy holidays to everybody. All right.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Bye, guys. Have a good one.